Chapter 4. At Lectura, Hercules meets some men from the small town near there. "Please help us, Hercules," they say. "There are huge birds in the tall trees next to the lake. They have metal feathers. From time to time, they leave the trees from the sky and then they drop their feathers down on our cows and kill them." Hercules looks up just then and sees hundreds of birds in the sky over his head. The birds suddenly begin to drop their metal feathers down on him. But the feathers can't go through Hercules' lion skin. He shoots lots of arrows at the birds, but they quickly fly away up into the tops of the tall trees again. "I can't shoot them up there," thinks Hercules. "Athena, where are you? I need help." Just then, Athena arrives with a large metal rattle in her hand. "You can make a big noise with this," she says. "Those birds don't like a lot of noise, you see." And with that, she gives the rattle to Hercules. Hercules puts the rattle over his head and moves it left and right again and again. It makes a lot of noise. Suddenly, the birds fly down out of the trees. Hercules can then easily shoot and kill them with his arrows. Hercules goes back to the palace. "Eurystheus, I have a bird from the lake Stymphales for you," he calls, and he puts the dead bird down not far from Eurystheus' jar. "Let's see," says Eurystheus, and when he comes out of his jar, he goes over and looks at the dead bird, and he cuts his hand on one of its metal feathers. "Hercules, get out of here," cries the king angrily. "For task number 7, you must go at once to Crete and catch King Minos' white bull there, and be quick about it." Hercules goes by boat to Crete. When he arrives there, King Minos is very happy to see him. "There's a big white bull," he says. "It's running here and there and killing people everywhere. You're big and strong, Hercules. Please catch it and take it away. It's in a small town near here now." Hercules goes to the town and waits. It is very quiet there and nobody is on the streets. Suddenly, the bull comes out from behind a tree and runs towards Hercules. The bull has big horns and fire is coming out of its mouth. The bull comes nearer and nearer to Hercules, but the fire doesn't burn him because he's wearing his lion skin. Hercules takes the bull by the horns and gets up on its back. For 2 days, the bull runs all over Crete. Hercules stays on its back day and night. In the end, the bull is very tired and he can't run or fight anymore. Hercules quickly puts the bull on his boat and takes it back to King Eurystheus. Eurystheus is very afraid of the bull. "I don't want that thing in my home. Kill it at once," he cries from his jar. But Hercules opens the palace door and the bull runs away. That night, Eurystheus talks to the goddess Hera. "Hercules does all of our tasks very easily," he says. "What can we find for him to do next?" Hera thinks for a minute. Then she smiles. "I know," she cries, and she says something quietly in the king's ear. "Oh yes," he laughs. "That's good. That's very good." The next morning, Eurystheus calls her for Hercules. When Hercules arrives, the king is sitting in his big metal chair. "Hercules," he says, "task number 8 is to bring back the horses from the palace of King Diomedes." "Of course," smiles Hercules, and he walks quickly out of the palace. "And don't forget," begins Hera, and she looks out from behind Eurystheus' chair. "Diomedes' horses eat people." Then she and Eurystheus begin to laugh and laugh, but Hercules is far away from them now, and he doesn't hear. Hercules goes by the boat to the palace of King Diomedes with 4 of his friends. "We're tired, hungry, and far from home," they say to the king when they arrive at his door. "Come in," says King Diomedes. "You can eat with us this evening and stay here tonight." He looks at the men's big, strong bodies and he thinks, "I can give them to my hungry horses tomorrow." That evening, Hercules hears King Diomedes talk quietly to one of his men. "When Hercules and his friends are sleeping tonight, you must help me to kill them," the king says to the man. "They can be a nice breakfast for my horses." Hercules says nothing, but later he talks to his friends. "They want to kill us tonight. We can't go to sleep. We must wait for them and fight them when they come for us." That night, Hercules' friends go to sleep very quickly, but Hercules cannot sleep. Suddenly, King Diomedes and his men come into the room. "Quick, get out of bed," cries Hercules to his friends. They get up, fight, and kill the king and his men. "What shall we do with the dead bodies, Hercules?" asks his friends. "Give them to the horses, of course," he answers. The horses are very quiet and happy after they eat Diomedes and his men. When Hercules brings the horses back to Eurystheus' palace, they look hungrily at the king. "Take those horses away," cries Eurystheus. He runs into the garden and goes behind a tree. When Hercules comes back without the horses, Princess Admete is talking to her father. "Queen Hippolyta of the Amazons has a beautiful golden belt," she says, "and I want it." "Well, that's your next task, Hercules," says Eurystheus from behind the tree. "Task number 9, get Queen Hippolyta's belt and bring it back for my daughter." Chapter 5. So Hercules goes by boat to the country of the Amazons. He takes some friends with him. "We must be careful," says Hercules when they arrive. "Only big, strong women live here, and they usually kill men when they meet them," people say. Hercules soon finds Queen Hippolyta. She is tall, strong, and very beautiful. He is surprised when Hippolyta is nice to him. "Hello, Hercules," she says. "It's wonderful to meet you. You're the strongest man in the world, I hear." "Thank you," smiles Hercules. With his sword, he quickly cuts 2 H's and an arrow of love between them on a tree. Then he takes some flowers in his hand, and he gives them to the Amazon queen. "Thank you," says Hippolyta. Hercules then tells Hippolyta about his task. "I need to take your golden belt back to the king Eurystheus' daughter," he says. "You can have it, of course," says Hippolyta, and at once she puts her hands on her beautiful belt. But Hera is watching all this from behind a tree. This task is going well for Hercules, she thinks. "I must do something fast and stop him." So Hera puts on the dress of an Amazon woman and she goes and talks to Hippolyta's guards. "Hercules wants to take Queen Hippolyta's belt and then kill her," says Hera. The guards run quickly to their queen. She's given Hercules the golden belt. "Stop!" they cry. Hercules quickly takes the belt. The guards fight Hercules and his friends, but in the end they get away from the Amazons and back to their boat. And Hercules has the belt with him. Hercules is very tired when he arrives back at the palace. "Where's that belt?" asks Princess Admete. She puts it on. "Oh no, I can't wear that," she says angrily. "It's huge." Hercules goes into the palace garden, sits down and closes his eyes. Eurystheus puts his head up from behind some flowers. "What are you doing here, Hercules?" he says. "You have 3 more tasks to do. First, find Geryon, the monster with 3 heads, and bring back his red cows to me." Geryon lives in a faraway country, and Hercules goes by boat across dark and angry seas to get there. When he arrives, he gets off his boat and looks everywhere. He can see the red cows on a hill, but he can't see Geryon. "This is an easy task," he thinks. "I can put those cows on my boat this minute and go home at once." Suddenly, Geryon walks over the hill. He has 3 huge heads and 6 long arms. Hercules quickly goes behind a rock. "Who's there?" cries the monster. "Come out, now." Hercules thinks quietly for a minute or 2. Then he runs out and stands behind Geryon. "I'm behind you," he calls. Geryon slowly moves his 3 big heads to look down at Hercules. Hercules then shoots 1 arrow through all 3 of the monster's heads, and at once Geryon falls dead at his feet. Hercules puts all Geryon's cows on his boat and goes home with them. When he brings them into the palace garden, they start to eat all the flowers there. "Take those big fat cows out of my garden," calls Eurystheus from a palace window. Hercules takes the cows away. "You must go to the end of the world now and look for the goddess Hera's garden there," cries Eurystheus when Hercules comes back. "And bring me 3 golden apples from the garden, once you find it." When Hercules leaves the palace, Hera and Eurystheus laugh for a long time. "Only gods can go into my garden," cries Hera in the end. "And Hercules is only a man. He can never take those golden apples from the tree. And of course, there's my friendly dragon in the garden too. Ha ha ha." Chapter 6. After many long and dangerous days on the road, Hercules arrives at the end of the world. He looks over the wall of Hera's garden and sees the golden apples on a tree. 3 young women are sitting under the tree. "Can I come into your garden?" asks Hercules. "Are you a god?" they ask. "No," says Hercules. "Sorry, gods only," they smile. Just then a dangerous dragon with 100 heads arrives. "Bye," says Hercules. Not far away, Hercules sees the god Atlas. He's holding the world on his huge shoulders. Atlas, how can I get those golden apples? Asks Hercules. First, kill the dragon, says Atlas. Then come back and hold the world for me. I can go and get the apples for you easily. Those 3 young women in the garden are my daughters. Hercules goes and kills the dragon at once. He then takes the world from Atlas and puts it on his shoulders. It's very heavy, he thinks. I can't hold it for long. Soon Atlas comes back with the apples. You can have the world again now, says Hercules. No, thank you, laughs Atlas. I don't want to hold it anymore. I'm tired of that. All right, but can you take it for 1 minute? Asks Hercules. I want to put it up on my shoulders better. I don't want to drop it. So Atlas takes the world on his shoulders again. Wonderful, I'm going home now, says Hercules. Thanks for the apples. Come back, cries Atlas, but Hercules runs away. When Hercules arrives back at Eurystheus' palace with the golden apples, Hera is very angry. We must think of one last truly dangerous task for Hercules, a task worse than all of the other tasks before it. She says to the king, I know, let's send him down into the underworld. He can bring back King Hades and Queen Persephone's dog, Cerberus. Nobody can get away from that dog alive. At first, Hercules can't find the door to the underworld, but Athena helps him. Go down to that big hole behind those rocks, she says. Hercules goes down the long dark hole and meets an old man near a river. And Charon, says the man, I take dead people across the river to the underworld in my long black boat. Take me across too, says Hercules. Charon looks carefully at Hercules. No, he says, I can't. You're not dead. Hercules holds up his sword in front of Charon's face and he looks angrily at the old man. Oh, all right, says Charon, and he takes Hercules across the river in his boat. Once Hercules is in the underworld, he walks through the dark streets. Dead and cold white people come and look at his warm pink skin. Can you see that? He's alive, they say. In the end, Hercules arrives at Hades and Persephone's tall, dark palace. He tells them about his 12 tasks. Can I take Cerberus with me? He asks them. It's the last of my tasks. Yes, you can, says King Hades. But please bring him back after Eurystheus sees him. He's a guard dog, you know. Hercules goes up to Cerberus. He's a huge dog with 3 heads and snakes all over his body. He runs at Hercules with 3 big mouths open. But Hercules is not afraid. He does not run away. He catches Cerberus in his hands. Then he plays with him and says nice things to him. In the end, Cerberus is happy to go with him. Not many people are nice to Cerberus, you see. When Hercules walks back into the palace with Cerberus, Eurystheus gets into his jar. Ah, take that dangerous dog away from here, cries Eurystheus. He's very afraid. That's it, Hercules. No more tasks, and I never want to see you again. Hercules takes Cerberus back to the underworld. Then he goes to the priestess at Delphi and falls at her feet. My 12 tasks are over, he says. Can the gods forgive me now for my crime? Yes, says the priestess. The gods forgive you. You are only half a god now, and when your time comes to die, you can go and live in the sky with your father Zeus. Then you can truly be a god and never die. Me, a god? Says Hercules. How can that be? He's very surprised. But through the years, everybody learns about Hercules, the strongest man in the world, and his 12 tasks. No one forgets his story once they hear it. You are reading it today, and so you can see it is true in the end. Hercules never dies.